What's up, guys? So today we're going to be revamping the breeding rack. We built it in one of the first videos I made, and I've kind of just let it go. Wasn't really doing a whole lot with it. It's holding some of the angelfish that we bred a few months back. It was holding some white clouds that we bred. It's obviously holding the 2 nano tanks that we made a few videos back. There's some convict cichlids up there that we need to, along with the angelfish, grow up slightly more and sell those to the fish store.
A lonely child is what you're gonna be when I sell you.
There's a few white cloud mountain minnows in this tank that I want to get out and put with the other ones. Basically at the bottom we've got the angelfish with some excess plants that need to be used and a god-awful amount of java moss. That whole thing in the back there, the whole right third of that 40-gallon breeder is java moss.
See the shoes, I see the money. The G boss know this game. I'm on top, long grill, because I'm on low all the way up. Yeah.
And then above that, we have, this tank has sort of been overrun a little bit with hair algae. This was the second tank that I started of cherry shrimp. You can see a few cherry shrimp right there. There's definitely a lot in here. Some of them, like the guy on the right, need to be taken out because their genes are not quite the best. That guy's pretty white, pretty see-through.
He was the best guy around.
What about the people he murdered?
What murder?
But then on this level, one over more, this one's just holding some plants, some water lettuce, a few alternantheras back there, like, I think they're minis. This one has breadroot floaters, spider plant, drowning. And then to the right, we have a tank that had the hillstream loaches in that we took out, the breeding pair, we took out and put in the 60-gallon. And then, so this tank, I'm really just trying to make sure there's no babies left in here. They're gonna be so tiny that they're really hard to see. But when I take this down, I'm just gonna, go as carefully as I can and probably put this specific water in a bucket so I can set it aside and wait for maybe even a few more days to see if there's any live babies in there, because I don't wanna throw out any live hillstream loaches. And then we're also going to be maintaining these nano tanks a little bit. This one's, well, the water's a little low. Some of this algae can be taken out because for some reason the snails and the little baby hillstream loaches that are in here, there's one, they have no interest in consuming this algae. I mean, it looks pretty soft, like they would eat it right away, but they just have not. So we're going to do a little bit to this tank. That'll be good. This one just needs cleaned up a little bit with the grass that's still coming up from when I removed all of the dwarf sage last time. I didn't like how it was mixing. It was just sort of like blending together, and the dwarf sage obviously is not as short a grass as this is, so the dwarf sage was coming up pretty high and it just looked a little messy. Plus it was starting to hide all of the boost, which we would not want to hide this boost. Why would you ever want to hide boost behind dwarf sage? I love this boost, or boost in general. It's just so good. And we got a lot of babies in here, baby shrimp. Some of these need to come out. Plenty in here, and some of these snails, way too many snails. So we're gonna get to cleaning and clean these tanks up as much as possible and make them, at least this row right here, ready for some new things, potentially just different color shrimp, but also potentially some new fish and ones that we can, like more nano tank style fish that if they breed, cool. If not, they'll just help the shrimp population and keep some fish like chili raspboras that eat like flatworms and stuff, planaria, and I don't have any planaria. There's some like rhabdocolia worms, or however you say those, rhabdocolia worms. They're like, people think they're planaria. Chili raspboras are really good for eating those kinds of worms. So we're gonna set these 4 tanks up to hold some new fish that we'll get in a future video. Oh, and 2 actually really cool things that have happened the past few days. If you look in this tank, there we go. There's a little, where is it? Oh. It's a little fry. Do you see that little guy? Little fry guy? Oh, he's so small I can't even, where did he go? Oh, there's 2 more, yes. It's so hard to focus on these guys. Anyway, so there's 3 in there. Can anyone guess what those 3 fry are? Obviously they're not anything from the saltwater tank. I mean, I guess they could be white cloud minnows. They are not white clouds. They are the Pacific blue eyes. Not very long after we've gotten these fish, the males started showing off, females started doing some interesting things. They would actually split off occasionally, and a male and a female would go down to the bottom, and they would do some stuff, hang out a little bit, flip around, and they'd come back up to the top. And I was pretty sure that seemed like it was like a mating behavior. Maybe they were laying eggs, and I'm pretty sure they were scattering eggs down there because I found some fry in here. So instead of setting up like a breeder box and having to feed them like prepared food, one of the things I've been doing more lately is just sticking fry in established tanks that have like a microbiome, that have just a good diversity of microorganisms to eat. Because essentially what you're doing if you're trying to breed fish is you're just trying to feed them microorganisms that are the right size for their mouths. Different sized babies have different sized mouths, and you gotta prepare, you know, either freshly hatched brine shrimp, Walter worms, and things like that, depending on the size of the fish. So if you just stick the babies in like a shrimp tank, the shrimp are gonna eat those things, but the babies will. So there'll be a large number of these things if there aren't already fish in there. So you put these fry in there. I haven't fed these fry anything other than what the shrimp normally get. So they get shrimp food. I've occasionally seen them eating the shrimp food, but I know they're eating some of the other critters that are in there as well. So I haven't really had to do anything, no breeder box or anything. But what I did on this tank is I stuck some water lettuce in here. And so that's actually gonna act as a refuge for the fry to go to, because when the fry hatch, they go right up to the surface. And if they're at the surface, these fish will completely knock them out. Like, they'll decimate any babies that are up here, because that's where they hang out, right at the surface. And I love how these things school. Can you imagine? These guys are breeding. We're gonna get like 50 of these things in here. That's gonna be sick. All of their blue eyes, all of their yellow fins, glittering, gleaming. Get some more rainbow fish in here. This tank's gonna be sick. But the water lettuce is gonna have probably quite a few babies in it by the time they grow up, and we see them coming out of there. There's gonna be, hopefully, a lot of babies. Another crazy thing that happened is I was just looking in this tank one night just to see what was going on. I looked in it with a flashlight just to check out some of the corals. You can see some interesting things when you look in your tanks, freshwater and saltwater, mainly saltwater, but when you look in the tanks after the lights go off, there's sometimes a lot of critters coming out. And some of the critters that I didn't expect to see were floating through the water. And I expect this was happening roughly twice a month, because that's how often clownfish lay eggs. And these clownfish were laying about 2 clutches of eggs a month. So I am looking through the water and I see little things floating around. And at first I didn't even take notice. I thought it was just like some giant copepods or something. And then I noticed that they look like little fish. And the only fish in here that are a pair of fish that can breed are the clownfish. So they were clownfish babies. So we got a little flashlight and we netted them all out of the water, or as many out of the water as we could. Turned all the power heads off and started netting them out. Put them in a little breeder box right here. And so we've got, really hard to say, maybe 80, 90, 100 clownfish babies in this breeding box, and I've never bred clownfish before. It's just crazy that I just so happened to look that same night that they hatched. I'm 100% certain if I didn't see these that night, that every fish would have been eaten by morning from the other fish that are in here. So after I caught these guys the next day, a lot of them, I wouldn't say most of them, but a lot of them did die. And I don't know if that's just due to genetics or what, but just from sitting in the breeder box for probably 4 or 5 hours. And there's pretty good aeration in here. You know, it's taking water directly from the tank and replacing it. A lot of these fish were dead. So I don't know if that comes down to just temperature or if they had been in the tank for a while. Like maybe until the lights go off, the clownfish were sort of watching them back there, but they weren't able to feed them. So maybe by that point they didn't have enough food. I really don't know, to be honest. I really don't know how many of these are gonna survive. I'm feeding them the things that I can feed them, and they do seem to be eating. If a good amount of these survive, we'll probably move them to a 10-gallon on the breeding rack over there. If there's not very many, I guess we can just keep them in the breeder box. But yeah, tank's doing pretty good. That's my update on the 125. So let's get back to this breeding rack, guys, and make some progress. I think the first one that we'll start with is this one up here with just hair algae and snails. That should be pretty simple, pretty easy to take care of. A load of snails in here. One at a time? Maybe I should just remove the algae and keep all the snails in here. Good luck removing the snails from the algae. Like, how's that gonna work? Yikes. Don't goldfish eat this stuff?
This is a type of algae found in Laos during the dry winter months when the river levels are low. It is very popular in the city of Luang Prabang because it is turned into a delicious Lao snack called kai pan. It goes through a long process of cleaning and also hitting the fibers until it becomes extra soft. If you're ever in Laos, this is a one-of-a-kind snack I highly recommend. What other questions do you have about kai pan?
Yuck. All right, so that's one tank down. It's pretty hazy right now because I just remineralized the RO water, and there's no filter in there right now because I've got the sponge filter soaking in some hydrogen peroxide to kill all of that hair algae. There's plenty of bacteria in the sand for that to not be a problem to keep the tank cycled. Once I put this back in here, then the bacteria will move back in the filter and everything will be completely cycled again. So we're just gonna wait for that to soak, and then I think we'll work on another tank. Let's do this one on the end. Pretty simple. Just gonna vacuum out all the gravel and then fill it back up. I'm trying to look closely to see if I can see any baby hill stream loaches. Don't have enough substrate to finish filling this tank up, so I'm gonna leave this empty for now. It's actually the same substrate as in there, but I wanna get a certain type of shrimp for this tank, and I don't really need fluval stratum because I don't need the pH to be so low. So we'll have to get more substrate for this, but we're gonna leave that empty for the time being. And now for this tank, I'm gonna pull out the white clouds, I think, the baby ones at least, and put them in here for now. I think there's only 2 of those. So put those baby ones up there, just so they can get a little bigger, and then we'll put them in with the goldfish, because if you watch my last video,
oh, dude, no. Holy shit, the goldfish are savages, no.
the goldfish were pretty interested in the white clouds, to say the least, so we will wait until they get a little bigger, and then we'll put them in there with the rest of the white clouds that we bred. And then I'll probably put most of these red root floaters down with the angels for now, and then we're gonna go through and pull out as many other plants out of here as we can. I'm not even sure what we have in here, so it's gonna be a surprise. All right, first we have to get these non-aquatic plants out of here. Wandering Jews just never seem to want to root in the tanks for me, for some reason. It's a very suicidal plant. It never likes to survive.
I hate my life.
I hate your life too, dude.
I'll probably plant this guy too. There's a rotala stem. So there's a bunch of stuff mixed in here. I'm gonna try to not get anything other than these red root floaters. We'll put all of the snails up on the very top with the rest of them. At least for now. I don't know how many snails I want in here. Any random plants I find, I'm just gonna put in this little container. So if you don't throw your Java fern leaves away, like this was just a leaf that I pulled off of like a healthy Java fern because it helps them regrow new leaves if you pull off the ones that are a little, they got pinholes and they're old. I just stuck this in here, and as you can see, these little spores or whatever they're on the Java fern leaves, they've sprouted new babies. So brand new Java fern. Look at that. Look, how many new babies. It's a pretty big guy. Not growing very well because it's not getting much of anything he needs in here. Pretty sure all of these were off of that one plant. It's crazy. Or off of that one leaf. More from that one leaf. I forget what this one's called. It's a baby bulbitis. Nice. More Java fern. I can't find my boost. I mean, we've got plenty of Java fern. That's no doubt. Where'd my boost go? Even more Java fern. Look at that. Wow. Dead leaf. It's like $40 worth of Java fern right there. And I think all that this cherry shrimp tank needs is just a little hair algae pulled out for now. It's probably easier said than done. It's got these moss balls in here that, of course, this algae wants to get right into. All right, so here's where we are. We've got basically these 4 tanks set up, ready for whatever we decide to put in there. This first tank here, I don't have enough of this substrate to finish, and I also don't have the rocks that I want to put in here. I'm pretty sure I want to use lava rock, and that tank's gonna have a species of shrimp and probably a small species of fish, maybe. Potentially just shrimp, because the shrimp I'm gonna get is pretty interesting. And then the next tank over, we just have the main plant that we're gonna keep in here is the dwarf sage. I'm probably gonna remove the other ones that are just kind of hanging out in here, and then we'll keep the dwarf sage, and for the time being, we'll keep the white cloud mountain minnows in here. I took the babies out, and they are up here in this tank. They're like way back there. There's some. And back again. Wait, there's one.
So with this 5.5 gallon, the only thing I'm really gonna do is top it up, clean the glass, and I'm gonna scrape out this fuzzy algae with the toothbrush and clean the filter. And that's all I'm gonna do to this tank for now. The one up there though, just a few hours later, and this is the tank that had all the hair algae in it. You can see there's a few like remnants of some algae at the bottom. This is Phoenix moss. I was able to pretty much use a toothbrush and like pull all the hair algae off this thing, off this log, and keep the Phoenix moss on there. So this tank right now only has ramshorn scales, so we'll have to do something with this tank. But right now I kind of want to keep it as simple as possible. So this is the tank that I cleaned out as much of the hair algae as I could off of the Java ferns, and I have more of that same moss down here. It's a little hard to see because I wasn't able to leave very much. It was just so intertwined with the hair algae. And so the only thing we have in here is shrimp and ramshorn snails. This needs topped up a little bit, although not too much because I don't have a lid on top. And yesterday when I was taking the rest of the plants out of this tank, all of the water lettuce that I put in the 60 gallon, I noticed a shrimp in here. So somehow either it was on a plant, but I don't think I moved any plants from this tank to this tank. But if not, it had to have jumped from this tank. That's at least like a 4.5-inch vault over there. Good thing there's no space between the tanks or it would have gone down in there. So I'm gonna take some water and fill these tanks up and then we'll keep this one empty for now. When I'm finally ready to get shrimp for this tank, we'll swap filters and we'll put this filter over there or something. We'll put that established filter in here so that we have a good cycle. So let's get these two tanks in the middle filled up. Well, these look much better. That was all fresh squeezed water from our new RO system. The only thing I know for a fact is that I want chili rasboras in one of these and galaxy rasboras in these three tanks. I mean, there's white club minnows in that one, so we probably wouldn't put them in there. So I guess this tank, and this tank will have chili rasboras, galaxy rasboras. So now I guess we'll get this one cleaned up, topped up, looking fresh. I'm out of razor blades for my handheld scraper, so we'll just see if a toothbrush works today. Normally I would use the handheld scraper, but I have a long one. It's just kind of hard to get in here since the top of this stand is right above it. There's really not much on the front glass. I thought those were snails. There's like something on the outside of the glass. Yeah, the Hellstrom loaches and the snails have kept the glass pretty clean. I'm not even gonna worry about it on the sides, honestly. It's not that bad. For this kind of algae, a toothbrush is really like the vastly superior way to handle this stuff, other than it's flying around right now. The toothbrush just sticks to it. It just grabs on. I'm not sure why nothing would eat this. It looks like a very edible algae. I'll probably trim these plants too. They're a little tall and I could get them a little denser back there. All right, got the filter out. I'll clean that in a second. I'm gonna take this spider plant out. We got a nice little bundle here to replant. I've just chopped most of these like within 1.5 inches or 2 inches of the substrate, and so just gonna put these right back in. Trim this guy back too. Look at all those roots on there. Look at all this. I can put this in another tank. I think when I put this filter back in here, I'm gonna stick it in the back. It doesn't look very good in the front, obviously. Filter put back in. I'm just going to top it off. The water hasn't even had a chance to clear up, but already it looks a lot better just having trimmed those plants. If I had kept up with the trimming more regularly, we'd have more dense plants back there. They were kind of sparse, really, but that looks a lot better. On to more fun things. Another big project we're going to be doing in like the main, well, not, so here's like the main fish area over here with most of the aquariums. And then there's like the spot where we have our goldfish pond. Pretty boring. So we have this that we're thinking of upgrading. And actually the other day we went to the store and picked up some friends that are in this tank right now. Some are koi, some are shbumpkins, and they'll all go together eventually once they go through quarantine. I'm not a big proponent of shopping at most big box pet stores. We started with 7 of these guys, and one of them was definitely, it seemed a little funny. They've all got most likely external parasites because they do a little bit of the flashing and the twitching and the like opening their mouths and like chewing constantly. The 2 koi, this is one of the koi. This one hasn't really shown any issues, as well as this silver, like partially scaleless one. Hasn't really shown any issues as much as the other ones. This one had, you probably can't see it really, on its dorsal fin up there, sort of right in the middle, on the other side actually. It had had what I'm pretty sure was an anchor worm, and it's like just like a little thread thing hanging off, and it was just irritated, like a cyst looking thing. And so I netted them up and plucked that thing out. Now I know that there's obviously still parasites in the water, so that's what we're gonna be treating for. And the treatment actually should be here today. So we're gonna start their technically start their treatment, but I've had aquarium salt in here for the past few days, as well as treating for external fungus and internal bacterial infections. So hopefully we can get rid of whatever is in this water from the big box stores. We've lost 2 so far. So I've been supplementing their goldfish food with some duckweed, and they love the duckweed, and their poop turns bright fluorescent green. Healthy salad for goldfishies. I do like these koi, these 2 koi. This one looks like he might be a little like stunted. His head and his eyes are like really big, and his body's not very big. So I feel like he might be a little growth stunted. We'll see. Our other goldfish are doing well. The ones we saved from Brittany's work, the ones that were outside in a pond, like in a decorative pond. These ones overwintered outside, and I mean, theoretically, these are probably just pet swordfish too, but they were sort of living outside and eating bugs and surviving the winter, and they are very healthy. I also feel like they're doing some kind of like mating behavior. That definitely looks like mating behavior. Goldfish guys, let me know. Goldfish ladies. Mating behavior or something else. The ranchies do the same thing actually. Let's go check out the ranchies. Wiggle, wiggle. These both would do the same thing, like bump up against each other. This one's my favorite, the orange one. Well, they're both orange, but this one. Yeah, these guys are doing good too. So are the white clouds. I've hung the monstera. I said I was going to, I did it. Got it on some little platform. Got some rope going through, some holes. A little piece of plywood painted white, hung from the ceiling. Those need painted because those are a little tacky. But yeah, got the monstera up. And I think for the 90 gallon, which also has a monstera, and I'm really kind of tired of these roots in here. That takes up like, a quarter of the tank, just the roots from this monstera. So I think we'll put this monstera, keep it out of dirt. We won't pot it up, but we'll put it in the goldfish tank, or soon to be pond. We'll keep it like that because it seems to like being in water, and a lot of these plants like being in water. See the pothos on the wall? Well, that's 2 different ones. There's actually 2 different ones on this side. But I trimmed off a big root ball, probably 50% of the roots I trimmed off of a pothos that was in here. And all of the leaves that were going up died. So you see this vine, all of the leaves dropped off, except for the ones that are coming back down. They have mostly stayed on there. And then the ones that were going up again along the back, those have all died. But look at the size of these pothos leaves. That is fish water. Huge. Normally they're like this big, small finger size. Sheesh. So I think now I'm going to, if I get this monstera out of here, that'll make a lot more light for these plants in the back, which are not doing bad. They're actually, Rotala, doing pretty good. Alternate Thera in the front looking pretty nice. The crypts are looking wonderful. I had these for months and they didn't do anything, and then I forget what I started doing. Oh, so the nitrate in this tank was really high, like very high. And really the only thing I did, I think the secret to freshwater, like, so with saltwater, you can protein skim, and that's how you can sort of remove the nutrients before they break down. Freshwater, you can't really do that. The way you do it though is with plants. And if you have all the nutrients in the water in balance, meaning like the right amount of nitrate to phosphate, which is like, it's kind of the same as salt water. It's like a 1-to-10 ratio. If you have enough phosphate in your water, then the plants will use up the nitrate. And if you have enough potassium, they'll use up the nitrate. Had a lot of nitrate, had hardly any phosphate and hardly any potassium. So when I added enough phosphate and enough potassium, then the plants are able to grow, and they started growing and pulling the nitrate out. I tested this water a couple weeks ago, and there's like no nitrate in here. And I've done maybe a 50% water change over the course of the last couple months. But overall, I haven't done hardly anything to this. This is an inert substrate. This is just like a quartz, whatever, just basic gravel. There's no nutrients in here other than what the fish produce. And these plants are doing pretty good, I would say. I occasionally add some fertilizer to the water, but in the right ratio, when the right nutrients are in the water, plants are actually able to grow. Not to mention, I think at this point, the immersed grown plants on the top are growing faster and taking more of the nutrients from the plants in the tank. So let's get this monstera out, put it in the goldfish tank, and then see how much better this looks. This guy needs a soak. Tillandsia xerographica. I'm gonna go throw him in some water. This is an air plant. Soak him in some poopy aquarium water for like an hour. Once every, like, if I can remember. That's how often. This tank needs proper tops. I just have oversized pieces of glass sitting on top. Oh, this is gonna be so hard. There's a bunch of Java moss around the roots. What the? It's probably gonna look really bad without this here. And just the pothos. Top 10 plants, monstera is definitely in the top 5. This is crazy, crazy plant. You can grow it in water, out of water, in a pot, not in a pot. You can water it, you can not water it. It doesn't actually care. I don't know if I've ever heard of someone who can kill a monstera. It may not be possible unless you let it sit out in the sun and it bleaches. Oh, there's 2 of them. PSA, please don't use moss in your tanks unless you know what you're doing, unless you want to regret it. Moss looks cool like the first week that it's in your tank, and then it gets everywhere and you can't remove it even if you want to. On a positive note, I had staghorn algae pretty bad in here. I don't even see any right now. I'd say that you have staghorn algae because your nutrient levels are out of whack. They probably thrive on high nitrate and low phosphate, if I had to guess, which is what this tank was, but no longer. The goldfish will clean all of this stuff off, hopefully. What the heck? Oh, that's pothos. These aerial roots are wild. They're not making music, that's actually a guitar right here. Whoa. Okay. So this is the plant. Wow. This is we got roots here. We have aerial roots. Look at these. Look how long these are. Wow. It's a little more open. That's still all roots. Oh wait, we still have one more. There's still one more monstera. This guy is over here. That I promise will look better in the pond when we prop this up. Let's figure out how this last one's in there. I wonder if the goldfish eat snails. I'm sure there's some ram's horn snails on here. These fish are like 10 out of 10 frightened right now. Java fern? Nice. Back where you came from. Oh wow, you can actually see the aquarium now. Kind of. There's still some roots. Some. That's much better though. I like that. I'll keep it. That's like 1,000% better. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love like the planted look, but when it makes it hard to like maintain the tank and do maintenance and stuff, having just the top open and free is so much nicer. I mean, like the way that my lights are in most of my tanks is like, gives you plenty of room to like access the top and do stuff. And the fact that I couldn't really get over here and do anything was really annoying. Now we can see the tank from all sides. Sick. Just gonna clean this piece of glass and I will put that back. It'll be like half the tank. We've cleaned the left half. This glass, the left side, the back, the top. Then we'll do this half next week. Clean. Like this video, guys, so I can find real tops that fit this tank. I don't have to use Rubbermaid container lids to keep my fish from jumping out. Why is it so hard to find tops that fit this 90-gallon tank? We should probably go get the air plant out of this bucket before I forget and he drowns. Yoink. There you go. Let's go ahead and wrap this video up with some fish feeding. We're gonna go around and feed all the fish tanks. Let's feed these 2 nano tanks first. I just fed this food in the morning, so I'm gonna feed them this for dessert. You don't wanna use a lot of this stuff. Actually, if you use the recommended amount, there's a good chance you could kill all your stuff. You're supposed to use, I think it says like a full scoop, but we're just using a little bit. There's actually bacteria in here, and it also grows bacteria. So it's going to stimulate organisms that consume oxygen. If you use too much, it's actually gonna greatly reduce the oxygen level in your tank and could potentially suffocate all of your shrimp. So don't use too much, but they love that stuff. A little over here too. Look at this little Hillstream Lodge. Look at this guy. So cute. Give the white cloud some flakes. The angelfish are always crazy for food. These guys are crackheads. Look at these big barbs. This is the giant cloud of water lettuce that I've added to the tank. for the fry, all of the baby fry that might be in here from the Pacific Blue Eyes. I think we'll get a bunch of fry, and we'll start to see them pretty soon because I've already found some, and I moved those other 3 to that nano tank, so we've got those 3 growing up in there, and hopefully we have a bunch in here. Let's get these guys some food. I love watching these guys eat. Look at this. And there's a Hillstream Loach. They've really cleaned this wood off. There's a bunch of stuff on this wood now. I need to clean this glass a little bit. Other than this front painted glass, just a little bit of little algae spots in the front. Not too bad. And the grass has got a little bit of crap growing on it, but if you can see, that's all new stuff. All the bright green, it's all new grass. Even these little ones that are starting to come up in here, it won't be very long until this is filled in. And I pulled a few rocks off of here the other day. Still got a few left, keeping this down until it fully soaks all that water in, stops floating. If you guys have any suggestions for fish I should add to this, let me know in the comments. I've only got one size of goldfish food, so for right now I'm taking these little pieces and breaking them up. Taking these large pieces and breaking them a little smaller. Plenty. When I feed them goldfish food, they just get like the little pieces. The goldfish get the larger pieces. Look at them, they're wild. I feed them flakes as well, and then the white clouds get the little pieces of flakes and the goldfish get the big pieces. Bloop, 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 bloop. I think they're still like not eating because these plants are in here. I mean, the orange one did. Come on, white guy. I think he ate a few, just not on camera. Okay. That is it for this video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the pond update and the new cichlid tank we're building in the future, as well as everything else that's going on here. We'll see you in the next one, guys.